Happy Friday. Welcome to Second Lap. I'm your host, Gramps, Robbie Batson or Gramps. Call me anything except for late for dinner. That was the joke that I grew up on. I am privileged to have a friend and a returning guest show up, but right before I pull him on stage, I just wanted to sort of reiterate as we talk today, we'll be talking about things that I hope that, sort of the, normal user, normal watcher, the normal consumer of the Second Lap podcast will take as what they can do to sort of make adjustments in their life and live their best life now as and start to adjust that vector as opposed to waiting until they realize that the saying is everyone has two lives right up until you realize you only have one, and we're attempting to move that line of when you realize earlier such that you can have more of an effect on your life. So with that, I've asked Joe Sullivan if he would come back and return to the podcast if Ronnie could throw him over on stage.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, welcome. I'm glad you're back. I wanted to bring people up. I mean, those that know us and those that have watched episode one, I think a lot's changed since episode one. Your original intent, and I'm going to bring the guests back to where we are. Your original intent was I'm going to retire and take a year off, and then I'm going to come back after a year, and I'm going to figure out what I want to do. And I remember as we were getting closer, because it was about the time we did the podcast, you were getting closer, and then I remember you coming out and saying, "Hey, I'm not gonna do that other stuff anymore. I'm gonna keep doing this one thing." And I'm chuckling about it because I'm kind of envious that you didn't do it sooner. But how is retirement?
Well, let's just say that I have suspended going back to doing anything indefinitely, right? If that tells you anything, right?
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, you even don't want to say relocated. You even added a place to put your feet that was a little farther south.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my wife and I, every year we'd go down to the beach, this particular place, and we would rent every year. And, I
Right.
started adding up what we're paying. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Let's just go ahead and take the plunge. So yeah, we bought a place at the beach, and, we're fortunate and blessed to get the chance to spend time at our home in Atlanta and our place down at the beach. And it's great. And, I think that just, right now, I mean, retirement is, it really wasn't what I thought it would be. It's even better than I thought it would be.
And is that because you're able to, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I don't want to lead the witness either, but I'm going to use what I believe from my lack of retirement and current situation. Yeah, I'm going to move, see if I can get a better audio. Hopefully that's better. The live video stuff is not all that's made up to be. I would assume, without leading the witness, that your most valuable asset is your time. That's what everybody says, cliche, but I think what I've seen through you and what I appreciate myself is I think that that's actually the truth.
Yeah, but I think if you take it a step further is when and I don't want to sound morbid or down, but I think what becomes more important, at least it was to me, is when the reality hits you that you may not have as much time going forward, right? And it makes you think about things differently. And I kind of shifted from thinking how many years do I have left versus how many summers do I possibly have left? And when you shift it to summers, man, it's like somebody throwing a bucket of cold water on your face. You're like, wow. I mean, the average male in the United States lives to, I think, 76.8 years or somewhere around that.
Right.
Well, in 3 months, I turned the, famous 60, right? And that, so 18 summers left, maybe. Hopefully I'm better than average and I may have 83, but that kind of puts things in my opinion, a much different perspective.
It does. And I think they're both about time. You're just realizing sort of on that side of it. And it takes me to like what I was going to ask, and sort of for the audience, because I think this whole retirement thing, you've milked the system, and I'm saying that in a very genuine way, because that's the system they gave us. That's what they told us was the way to do it. And I've been fighting with, man, hiking Kilimanjaro or going to Egypt and doing, just doing crazy stuff. The older you get, when you finally have this opportunity with a retirement nest egg or the money you saved up, your body, if you haven't really been working as well, I'm going to say even better. Your body's not ever going to be as good in your fill in the blank 60, 70, 80, whatever, as 25, 30, 35. And that's, I think, really the audience that I think follows this is sort of in the 30s. And so it's like, I keep feeling like it's like, man, I want people to go on vacations now and do crazy shit now while their body lets them do it at the, I guess, not the detriment of, hey, they're not going to be able to continue to save for that retirement. So looking backwards, is there things and I don't think of or say them in ways of regret, but is there ways of in your learning that you would tell a younger nephew or niece, hey, do this so that you don't wait until 55 to realize that you really don't want to be working for the man anymore?
Well, yeah, and I have these discussions with people, a lot when, they find out that, I don't know if there's an appropriate age to retire anymore, but I think I was
Right.
58. And when people hear that, they're like, hey, how'd you do it? Right. And first off, that I just want to say that, my wife and I not having any kids put us in a much better position because we saved a ton of money not paying for school and all that stuff that comes along with it. So we were fortunate and we were blessed to have the opportunity to walk away when we decided to walk away. But I will say this, and several things kind of led me to this decision in my life. One of them is, and if you haven't read the book, or if people in your audience haven't read the book, I would highly encourage you to read the book called Die with Zero.
Okay.
It's a very interesting book, and it talks a lot about what you said about the different periods in your life and what you can do and what you can't do. And in the traditional form of retirement, people save their whole lives to get to their 70, and then they realize, I can't do the things in 70 that I could do in my 50s and my 60s, right? So the whole book is about, you need to structure your investing, your investments, and you need to pay yourself more in the earlier part of your investment when you can enjoy and develop those. And it used a term that I thought was very powerful. Instead of, dividends that you get from your investments, it says you need to realize experience dividends, right? The dividends that life gives you. And that book really kind of opened my eyes and made me think, I'm not getting younger. I've been pretty rough on my body growing up with sports and everything. So, the way I feel at 60, I'm probably going to feel 10 times worse at 70. So, I want to start enjoying my life. I want to start traveling more. I was tired of being under constant stress, being in the sales profession these days, quarter close will take 10 years off your life sometimes, and then another thing that really opened my eyes, and I think this was the number one thing that led me to make the decision I've made, and that is, and I may have mentioned this to you before, but in the last 3 or 4 years, I think I'm up to now 24, because I just got notified 2 days ago of someone else. Roughly 24 people that I know, family, friends, acquaintance, coworkers, that have died. And they're all plus or minus 3 years of my life. And if you had to look, a lot of them were, different in a way, but if you looked at a main common denominator, a lot of them were in the sales profession. And I think stress can really, really be detrimental to your health. And that, I started looking around and saying, all these people that I know who are dying, they're 57, 62. They've worked hard their whole lives. They've probably done everything right. They made all the right decisions. yet they're not here to enjoy the fruits of their labor. And I said, I don't want to be one of those.
I hear you loud and clear. I've had some of the same, I would say the same experience. I haven't, and I'm not laughing at the situation. I'm laughing at you're the analytical. You've got all of the stats. You've got everything, pulled out. And so I didn't have the stats pulled together, but I was going to say I've probably witnessed, and I would put Greg Biffle just because it's not just people that are dying from stress. I would say it's people that are just dying in sort of that, call it just north of 50 to whatever age. And it's like, man, that's when you're supposed to like take all the shit you've learned from the 20 to the 40, and you're supposed to be like this magical age. They say it's your golden age, and you make all your money, you do this, and people are dying. Like they're dying of, I want to say meaningless reasons or health things that you can't see or things. And so, as I said, I'm wondering, do you, with all of that said, I guess the original question, would you have retired at 55, 52, knowing what you know and feel now and the experience you have post retire?
Well, I think if I could have afforded it at 50, I would have liked to have done so. And I mean, at 50, I did take 6 months off, and
Right.
I will say that that's too young, I think, right? And I, after 6 months, I was ready to jump back in the game, and I did. And I was fortunate to have some great opportunities that I was able to get till I was, again, at 58, I just decided, it was after a quarter, it was after a nasty quarter. It was one of these ones where you're like, I can't do that again, and I said, I can't do this anymore. I can't. Yeah, I mean, it was a leap of faith, although, me, I've had all my study, all my analytics done. I've been budgeting my money for 30 plus years. I knew exactly what I was spending. That helps, right? But and I think what kind of it's funny as you're talking to people about retiring early. A common theme I hear time and time again. Oh, I'll never retire because I just can't sit still, and I would get bored, and I have to laugh because either that person has no hobbies or interests or anything in life, because I can tell you this, I have not been bored yet.
Okay, that was going to be one of my questions. Okay,
yeah.
Good. I've heard some people that, I'm speaking to just one person, and I won't call him out, even though he'll know I'm talking to him, that basically said, I wish I could find something to do from 10 to 2. I'm good the rest of the day. But 10 to 2, all my friends are busy, people are having lunch and doing other things, and I'm just bored from 10 to 2. And I'm like, go serve in a soup kitchen. Like, find something else to do. I'm kind of shaming him into, find something to do, because I feel like you're right. I think with the hobbies, with the things, for me, the big family, I mean, we're not bored. Like,
well, I mean, let me tell you, I mean, and I say retirement, and I don't know if that's really the appropriate thing to say. I mean, for me, it hasn't necessarily been about slowing down, but it's about kind of taking a shift in life to, going from doing what you have to do when you have to do it to doing what you want to do when you want to do it. Right. And so, it's allowed me, first and foremost, the opportunity to take a deep breath and just exhale and just say, oh my gosh, and it's allows, and once you reduce a lot of stress, it's amazing the creativity that your mind creates, or more importantly, how much your creativity had been suppressed all those years with all that level of stress. But look, man, I stay busy with a number of things, of course, managing my investments. Like you said, that friend said, from 10 to 2, I can dive into my portfolio at any moment, start doing things and working on it and analyzing in this, or doing investment research and stuff like that. That could keep me busy 10 hours a day if I wanted to. Right. But I've got things like, for instance, I started recently starting to dabble with doing some writing. So I'm starting to do some writing op-eds, right? And taking my passion, which is investing, economics, and politics, and kind of writing about what my opinion and how they all kind of work together, and so forth like that. Right. So again, a little hobby of writing. I'm also started a new business venture that I'm working on that is just now getting the frameworks. I mean, I'm not talking about a full time, but just kind of a hobby thing that I think can help people, educate people. And, that plus, I just got involved with another investment LLC to do a real estate opportunity. So those things, it's kept me as busy as I want to be. And that's not even taking into account my exercise routine that keeps me pretty active during the daytime too. So, again, I think people have, in many cases, just have worked so long, they just can't see beyond that job and what they could become. But once you have an opportunity to breathe and relax, it's amazing how the mind opens up and things just start flowing.
That's great. Well, you mentioned, and I won't say that I'm going subject or subject, but you sort of blended into one of the things we talking about, which is exercise, mental health. How you put that in. You mentioned what I took as a comment. I can't remember exactly. I'm trying to go back to what it was, but something that alluded to physical fitness taking an appropriate level of time throughout your day. Well, what is it that are you lifting weights? Are you cardio? What kind of stuff are you doing?
Man, well, first of all, I think I do too much.
Okay.
I'm like just, yes, I lift weights. So I go to the gym probably 3-4 times a week.
Okay.
I try to go swim twice a week, but sometimes that kicks my butt so bad I can only do it one time a week.
How far are you swimming in one stance?
I'm sorry.
How far are you swimming in one stance? How far are you going?
Anywhere from 3/4 of a mile to a mile.
To a mile. Okay. And
now, but let me preface that with this: I am as slow as a turtle, but I do it.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
But I'm telling you.
Do you have a stroke? Are you doing the breaststroke? Are you doing the back crawl? What are you doing a combo?
I can't do the backstroke, but I mainly do freestyle. And every now and then when I get too tired, I'll do the breaststroke for a lap or two just to kind of recalibrate. But
sure.
Let me tell you, for those who haven't swam before, it's probably the hardest thing I've ever done. And it works every muscle in your body.
It's when I finished the circumference challenge that I was doing a couple years ago, it was my next desire because that's what I felt. I felt like you get in the pool and you exercise everything. And on top of all that, you don't have gravity pulling your bone on top of your other bone. And so I would think that it's more user friendly to us over 50.
Well, it's more natural movements for your body, right? And I think that and you mentioned it too, as you do get older, it becomes more important to work a lot of those those deep fascia muscles, the tendons, the ligaments, because those begin to stiffen up, dry out. So in order to keep them good, you got to move them and you got to work. And so far, I can tell you, swimming has been very good, but it is very hard. And I don't know if it really does well for losing weight, because when I get out of the pool from a mile swim, I can't eat enough. It's like you're just everything you can grab a hold of, you're just eating. So, but I will tell you this: probably my newfound love is pickleball.
I remember you talking about that before. Is that is that just because it's, well, one, there's a winner and there's a loser. Like, I know that there's a competitive bone in that body. I remember working with you. Is it that side of it that you drive? Because I've heard it's not aggressive with, thinking about racquetball as a competitor with that, sort of velocity. Is that, I don't know what I'm trying to ask. Talk to me about pickleball. What drives you to pickleball?
First of all, I would disagree with that comment. It's, I think as you progress up, it gets considerably more aggressive.
I'm completely ignorant. So you're talking to a guy who's never played before.
Yeah. So, I played for many years tennis. And finally, due to an injury, I had to stop doing that. And then about a year ago, never thought about it, but somebody said, hey, would you consider playing pickleball? And I'm like, well, I'm not sure I can due to this, injury I had, but let me give it a shot. And I did. And I actually liked it because it takes a lot of what you do in tennis, although being a tennis player can actually hurt you in pickleball. But nevertheless, started playing it. And yeah, look, I've always been a competitive person. but I think more than anything, I am a people person and I
Yep.
enjoy meeting people and I enjoy talking to people. And I can tell you the pickleball community is really about socializing and meeting people and playing with different people. And that's, I think, what I love the most about it. And again, it kind of goes back to in retirement, keeping yourself busy and socializing. It's been a great outlet for me to achieve that. That being said, though, I am getting ready to start playing in some tournaments to really gauge how good have I become, right? So we'll see. So I am taking it to the next level from a competitive perspective. But no, I love it, man. And the problem with that is I play 5 to 6 times a week, and that's too much. And and you're usually playing for 2 hours, 3 hours at each day, and it's like, okay,
Right.
I gotta have to back that off a little bit because my body is really starting to scream at me.
I was going to say, it's not like you got to, go do an expense report. So was it your body that's doing it? And have you, and I'm not going to get any personal, but have you tried any peptides or anything to try and help you with recovery to get your, just once you get to our age, it takes longer to feel normal again?
I don't do peptides, but I do a heck of a lot of ibuprofen.
Okay. I've heard that company.
Yeah. A lot of ibuprofen and a lot of ice baths. Let's just put it that way too. So,
okay. Are you doing like traditional 3-minute ice bath?
No.
Or
I have, I have some, last year was the year of the health. So I had some surgeries done orthopedic wise to correct some things. So the feet, so I have to constantly soak my feet in ice buckets just to keep the swelling down, especially after I play pickleball. That thing will swell up huge, right? So just doing that. But no, I mean, it's just, as you get old, running on concrete, and surprisingly, pickleball, you have a lot of movements, lateral, up, and so it just it takes its toll on the body. So so that's my exercise routine. I do something every day, and I think for me, it's more from a mental aspect than it is physical. I mean, my biggest challenge in life is it's not the desire to exercise; it's the desire to start eating healthy. For some reason, I just don't. I have a bad diet, and that's like a thief for me because I'm doing all this exercising, but then I go rob myself of the benefits by eating poorly.
How do you? I don't want to say how do you give yourself a pass for that, because you're an intelligently disciplined former athlete. I mean, what is it the same thing we talked about before?
Well, I'll look at it like this, okay? So I'm married. I don't drink anymore. I'm not out partying or what. So really the only vice I have left is bad food, I guess, and that's what, I like chicken wings. I like pizza. I like French fries, but I can't blame anything for not losing weight other than myself. And at some point, as I've always said, pain is a big motivator. At some point, the pain of not losing it will exceed the pain to lose it. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hear you. For me, it was the A1C and being, pushing myself into diabetes and things like that. And I've done this before where I've had to just cut sugar cold turkey. This time it's like, I want to be able to celebrate with a cupcake. I want to be able to do this from time to time. And I'm going to eat carrots and meat potatoes, every other day. And
well, maybe that's the next goal for, that's the next goal here for me is to start working on a better diet. So, we always have room for improvement, and that's my area for improvement right there.
Yeah, no, I wish you, I wish you any luck you need. I wish you, I'm here to support you. And hey, this is what I've done. I think that the advice that I got that was mind changing for me is food is fuel, and it's the more boring your meals are, the better it kind of turns out to be. And I'm married to a gal that can make the bestest, most extravagant salad dressing you could ever think of, right? So I'm married to the polar opposite, that it's the most spicy thing. It's like, man, I'm just gonna have my bland potato and my piece of steak over here. So you mentioned mental health, you mentioned peace. I guess I'll rip the Band-Aid off. Do you think the diet is the only thing that causes spikes in your mental health with everything else you're doing?
Well, that I'm not sure because I'm not a physiologist or
Right.
a psychologist or anything like that. But I will say this from a mental health perspective, I feel like I am in the best place mentally now than I ever had as far as I can remember back to high school. And even when you're in high school going through puberty, you have issues you're dealing with then too, right? But no, I mean, and again, I go back to what we talked about earlier with stress, and I think, chronic stress causes so many problems. And it's not until you don't have as much stress that you realize, holy cow, that was just really killing me. And I'm not going to say I don't have any stress. We always have stress.
Sure.
I like to say that I have reduced the external stress from my life. I still have the internal stress of wanting to do things and wanting, the investing part of it. I can tell you my stress level increases when the market drops. So it's an inverse relationship, right?
Right.
But that's a different type of stress. And, dude, I'm sleeping better than I've ever slept in 40 plus years. Right.
Good.
I mean, when I was working, I was getting up at 4:30, 5 o'clock every morning. I think a couple of weeks ago, I woke up and it was 7:45. I haven't slept past 6 o'clock. I couldn't tell you 40 plus years, maybe.
Right.
And so, I think from a mental health perspective, I feel like I'm in a good place. Now, my wife may argue that point, right? But, that's everybody's got their own opinion on things. But no, I think, my mental health is doing much better. And I think it's one of those things as you start, the more you ease into this retirement thing, the better that side of it is going to become.
And just for those that are late to the game, Joe isn't not doing things. He's just choosing what he works on and where he puts his energy, as opposed to being told, Clary shows that you haven't put notes in Salesforce in 10 days, and the CEO is asking why you haven't decided to put your notes in 10 days. And all of a sudden, oh my God, there's all that stress you were talking about, because you're like, holy shit, he can't read notes that aren't less than 10 days old.
And let me give you an even more stressful one. It's the last night of the quarter. It's 2 a.m. The company's headquarters is on the West Coast. They close the books at 3 a.m. And you're having to get a CFO out of bed at 2 a.m. Eastern to sign off on a PO. And if you don't do that, you may not have a job the next day. That is stress. And that is a true event. That's something that happened to me that I said, no more. I'm not doing that anymore.
Well, and I knew that. I could tell by the level of detail and the emotion in your face. But what I'm saying is that's all artificial. This quarterly numbers, this Wall Street thing. It's, hey, if I get an order on Wednesday, it's actually different than if I get an order on Thursday. That's all made up like that. And I think I'm really glad you're not having to live with it. I haven't mentioned it. I'll mention it to you. I haven't been working for the man since February 13th. And it was more of a choice, kind of sounded like a similar situation to what you were talking about before. I was second for the team, was doing well, yet wasn't meeting the anticipated expectations. So there's a whole process that they automatically put you into, that they want you to do all these things, and none of those things actually generate revenue. It just makes somebody else feel good about something. And I just looked at the camera because I was on Zoom and I said, I'm choosing not to do this. I'm choosing to go do this somewhere else. And so I've felt what you're talking about. I mean, I have to go back to work. I'm not in the situation that you're in. I did different things, and we have 7 kids between us, with 11 grandkids in August. So yeah. I'm needing to feed the monkey, but at the same time, I'm really taking the time to enjoy every morning. I'm up at 5:15. I enjoy the coffee. I enjoy communicating with communities and people, and making sure all that is what I can, what I have an effect on the world. I do as much as I can.
Yeah. Well, that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah. So hey, but in the spirit, if you do find me and need a guy that does this, I'm available for those that are
Okay.
watching the program. Um, AI. AI didn't take my job. I think AI is going to revolutionize and change things. There's a couple of things and different paths I could go with AI. I'm going to choose the one that's more economic that I've heard lately, and then we can kind of back into the, hey, is it just going to be, something that makes your words better? What I've heard is AI has been, and data centers specifically, has been this large part of GDP and this forward anticipated, hey, this is all this growth we're going to have. And we've come to a conclusion, or at least at least it feels like it's a known fact, that we don't have the natural resources, the electricity and power grid and technology to do all the data centers that they anticipated a year ago they were going to do. And therefore it's kind of eroding, and they're having to go back and almost, if you think about, redoing the books, so to speak, on what the world was like last year, because all of these things they said they were going to do, they can't. And I don't know if that's too general of a question, but do you understand what I'm asking?
Well, no, absolutely. And when you said you wanted to talk about AI, I wrote a few things down that pertain more to uh, the uh, the stock market side and what the stock, because a lot of people, he may watch your podcast. Watching financial markets will answer a lot of questions for you on what's going on in the world. Plus, it will
Right.
also give you a good indicator that's what's working 8 to 12 months down the road, right? And so,
Right.
no, I certainly think that, but to counter that is that necessity is the mother of all inventions, right? And I'm already evaluating and looking at companies that are working on alternative energy measures to help bridge the gap between the energy infrastructure side. That's kind of, I wouldn't say hold AI back, but could be a headwind down the road.
A speed bump.
Yeah, a speed bump. But let me tell you, I don't think there's any speed bump that's going to stop AI, right? I
Right.
mean,
That's why I
it's
said. That's why
it,
I said what I said. It's not a speed stopper. It's just something slowing it down for a minute.
it's here. I am a huge believer in it. I do think at some point there's going to have to be some regulation if you can, because there is a dark pool to AI. But that
Yes.
aside, I mean, I use it every single day. I mean, I even pay for it. I use it so much, and I use it a lot for investment research because it can do things. I can upload a financial report in there, and it can give me a one-page brief on everything. So it makes my life easier from an investment research perspective. But
Right.
what I think what the market is telling us right now, as far as it relates to AI, there's two things, because we all know that the software industry has been attacked lately in the market. Valuations are down tremendously. And to me, I think that speaks to two things. One is a lot of these AI companies are having to take on a large amount of debt to stay current with the technology, buying
Right.
more computers, buying more warehouse or data center space. And the problem, Wall Street has an issue with debt in general. The more debt you increase, the less earnings you have, and that has a big problem. The
Right.
biggest problem that Wall Street has is the large amount of debt to finance short life cycle products, right? So to give you an equivalent, it's today in taking debt to buy equipment and such for AI is like going out and buying a car and financing it for 120 months. You're halfway through the loan and the car is obsolescence, but you still owe money. Same
Right.
things apply with a lot of these data centers and the computers and specifically the chips. You go out and you borrow all this money to pay for this, and in 2 years those chips are obsolete. What do you got to do now? You go out and get more debt to do it. And I think Wall Street is very concerned about the levels of debt that we're seeing, and the life cycles of this keeps getting shorter and shorter and shorter. So
Right.
that's one thing. And then on the other side, a lot of these SaaS companies are beginning to hit, like ServiceNow, Salesforce. AI is seen as a big disruptor to their business model. one, you're having workforce displacement, so you're going to have somewhat called fewer employees. And any company that makes their business model selling seats, well, you may be selling less of it. But what they're also seeing too is these people who are building these AI agents. A lot of those agents can do things that Salesforce can do things that ServiceNow can do. Therefore, there may not be as big of an incentive for a company to expand their existing infrastructure, which that could mean less revenues for these companies down the road. So that's kind of the impact I think AI is having on the market. Is it going to slow it down? No, it's not. It's here. If anything, I think the rate of incremental benefits is just going to continue to get more and more and more. And we're going to look back 2 years from now and say, oh my gosh, what the heck, So that's just my perspective on it.
Do you think it's going to continue to force consolidation?
Yes, I do. I think it's going to. Well, first of all, I think it's going to be a huge paradigm shift for the world and our lives. I mean, look, I'm even reading articles now where there's actually now become more serious discussions on a worldwide universal basic income, because the amount of worker displacement they are projecting could be astronomical. Now, I'm not going to say that could happen or not, but they're having those discussions. Hey, one benefit of that, I think, with the job displacement is going to be, the way the world works is where something ends, something else picks up, right? So something, with the shortage we have in the service jobs or the trades, I think a lot of this worker displacement will wind up helping to fill the gap with the trade services gap we have. So, granted, plumbing, electrician, carpenters, mechanics, I don't see AI displacing those. I see AI augmenting those, but not replacing them. And if they do get replaced, it's going to be a long time before that happens. So I think that we will see a lot of these people being laid off from companies due to AI will be absorbed in other areas of our economy.
I mean, I couldn't have paid you to lay it out in front of me. I believe in AR or augmented reality, being able to put on the glasses. A guy like you, educated, full of wisdom. You're not a plumber, but in the trades, I would use you as kind of the guy that's sitting back at the building, and he's got a bunch of junior Jetsons that are wearing glasses that go out from site to site, and there's the guy back at headquarters that can talk and help augment and bring those people, value. And I think it's coming. You're right. I think there's going to be a shift. I think I've heard, and I would lean into Elon. I'm a big fan. I don't know why, but I am. I'm just a fan.
Well, a disclaimer: I am too.
Okay. Thank you. I'm glad. It's good to know where you stand, because I'll watch where I won't say something that trips up, but I believe his is he doesn't even use UBI. He uses universal excessive income or whatever it is. He uses some word where we're going to be in this age of enlightenment and age of excess that everybody is going to have what they want, and it's going to force prices of stuff down. And I mean, I believe him. I see it to the point where I want to buy a Tesla just so that it can be like a robo-taxi, making me money when I'm not driving it, the 2 times a year I'll drive it.
I haven't really thought about it from that kind of philosophical point of view. I'm just looking at the data that I'm seeing today, and secondly, how I use it. And I don't even use a speck of it, quite frankly, you know? And so, but, where I also see it playing heavily now is in, the investing side. And I know that one of the topics you wanted to talk about was investing in market outlook. Do you think we have enough time to kind of jump into that real quickly? Or
Yeah, I think we have. Let's use that as our sort of wrap up topic. So we've got 5 minutes, and talk to me about investing and how you're using AI to be a tool.
Yeah, well, so I mentioned earlier about, I spend a lot of time doing research and analysis of, just staying on top of my current investments. And again, I like to tell people and tell your audience, if you don't have time to do your homework and stay on top of and research your current investments, you don't need to be in those investments, right? There's a mutual fund that will manage all that for you. I do a lot of my own individual equities and individual bonds. So I use AI a lot in researching that. I can upload documents and AI can give me the synopsis, a brief summary. You do have to be careful because AI is not always correct. So I don't look at it as, hey, should I buy this stock? No, I look at it as, give me a rundown on this annual report. What are the good, what are the bad, things like that, though. But
do you adjust your prompt? Do you adjust your prompt to say, please don't add any hallucinations? Like, are you at that level of sort of prompting engineer?
Not hallucinations, but I do prompt it for certain particular aspects, speak in certain types of language and in tone. Like I would say, hey, analyze this like a financial analyst would, and give me the recap. But it helps to play along with my investment style, because my investment style is a little different than a lot of other people's investment style, and mine's more of what I call a balanced approach, but leans more with emphasis on income. Because I kind of learned a long time ago, there's two types of investing. You can put it in a bucket and hope for it to grow, and hopefully it grows over time to the point where I can start selling those assets to pay for my lifestyle. Versus, it's actually cash that pays the bills. Unrealized gains doesn't pay your electrical bill. Cash does. Right. So I made a shift a long time ago to start really building up an income portfolio. I actually like to call it's a personal annuity, right? It's an annuity that I have created. Unlike a regular annuity where I give my money over and I don't control it, I still control my money, but it gives me cash every month, right? And that cash pays.
Is it like bills. A dividend? Is it like a dividend? How would people that don't understand it look at it?
It's a combination of dividends, distributions, interest from bond. I mean, it's a diversified portfolio of a lot of different types of investments, but yes, they all pay a dividend or some sort of dividend that is cash, right? And so it's kind of like having your own personal ATM machine that you're pulling money from each month to pay your bills. The thing I like about it is that I'm not relying on cashing a stock to buy it. This stock is just paying me. Now, at some point, I'll get to a situation where, I got to start working on my capital drawdown. So I will start selling assets at that particular point in time. But right now, it's just a matter of, every month I go to that ATM machine and I pull out the money I need to live, and that's what it goes. So, that's now, and I'm probably going to stir up a hornet's nest on your group. I'm not saying that's the best way to do it. There is no right or wrong approach. If you're all growth, absolutely fine with you. That's just what works good for me.
I like it. It's interesting because you hear back to Elon, you hear, hey, he doesn't take a salary. He just takes a loan out against his assets that, they're growing at such a rate that, if he ever makes a payment, it's just, it's a game. So I hear you're at a different level. You're doing it. I like how you're taking that approach as opposed to, hey, the only way. And I knew, former in-laws that had to sell, every quarter in order to get a chunk of money. And that process just feels like it's a lot more painful and taxing. Like literally taxing.
And I know we're up against the clock here, and I just want to. There's several important things that I like to throw out. Again, I like to help educate people on mistakes I've made or things that I've learned along this journey. But and this will kind of sum up the whole thing here. So from a retirement perspective, if anyone is thinking about retiring pre-65 years of age, you better have a solid plan and a solid budget for healthcare. That is the largest expense in my budget is healthcare. And unfortunately, we have to go to the marketplace, and due to income, we pay full price. And let me tell you, it is ungodly, right? Now, it's a good problem to have. I prepared for it. I budgeted for it. I'm okay. But I'd rather be giving that money to a cruise line to go on a big, around the world cruise. Unfortunately, I don't. The other thing is taxes. Taxes are important in retirement because it just eats away at your return, right? So there's things that I wish I had done earlier and I didn't, but your whole career, you're told to max out your 401ks, max out your IRAs. And those are excellent, excellent tools, right? To defer taxes. What they don't tell you is when you reach a certain age and you're required to take distributions from those, that's considered normal income. That bumps up your income and causes you to be taxed on your Social Security, causes your Medicare premiums to go up, and all sorts of other things. So what a lot of people don't tell you is when you're younger, in your 40s or 50s, you might want to start looking at converting your IRAs to a Roth. You may not be eligible to contribute to a Roth because of your income, but you can always convert, right? You pay taxes on it, but the power of tax-free income in retirement is unbelievable, right? So I would tell somebody who's 45, all right, start looking at building a income investment bucket, right?
Yep.
You can have a growth bucket, have an income investing bucket. Look at your IRAs or old 401ks and maybe start talking to a CPA or an advisor on, can I start a Roth conversion program that can take me up to a certain age and get all my money over to a tax-free bucket, and then plan for healthcare.
Plan for healthcare. On that note, thank you, Joe. I did want to pick your brain on what you thought about the polls and moving all that, but we will do that. We'll do that on another episode. I hope you've had a good time, because I've enjoyed it and love to have you back again in the future.
Rob, it's always fun. It's always good to see you too.
Good to see you as well, Joe. Enjoy retirement, and I hope to see more pictures of sunrises and sunsets in Florida.
Heading down tomorrow, man. We'll take care.
All right, take care. See you. Bye.